Tell me. Yes, I'm getting some responses. Yes, 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 absolutely. What are some of the childhood experience you feel have shaped your life? Can someone share as an adult? So you're grown-ups now. What are the some of the experiences that have shaped your life? Come on, someone, if you anybody wants to share. Can someone share? I'll share mine if you want. And then you can tell me like, yes, Smriti, you want to share? Go
Yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
yeah. Um, it has always been very hard to impress my father. So, and I think that I feel that this is my general observation that the second child has to take some attention. The struggle is real. The second child needs more attention somehow. So I always have needed his approval. So I think that approval thing, as an adult also, I still record that
We lost your voice. Hello, 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 hello. Is anybody able to hear her?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, I think there is a connection issue with her end. Mm, okay, okay. Still, Smriti, we lost you, I suppose. Okay, so Maitri says my father was emotionally strong, so I am. Agreed. So yes, we have been shaping our experiences of our day to day through our childhood reminiscences, and these have been fundamentally ingrained in our personality or behavioral aspect over a period of time. Then these have become relatively permanent. So what has been one of the fundamental things about this is it happens with every student, and while we look into these perspectives, we come to know and realize certain very important things that we must focus on. And then you come to the other part of it. Smriti is there again. Hello, Smriti. Hello. Okay. Let us check whether she's able to hear or not. So the other part is again we see the emotional part. We understand now there is an emotional disturbance that shapes up our external, adulthood behavior, or maybe what we have gone through our childhood. The most interesting thing is the behaviorism, the opposite of psychoanalysis. That is, it is the behavior that we observe. It is the outcome that we usually see and that can be measured, and this eventually got back a very in-depth scientific approach towards psychology, and this was the founding father of this was John Watson, again from United States, and this made a very strong predictive model available for measurement and development of psychology. Shruti, you want to share? Can you hear?
yeah.
Yeah,
Hi,
we had lost you.
Vishal. The connect is constant awareness my for that now. Am I audible?
No, 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 no. Your voice is dwindling. Hello.
I am sorry,
No, it's okay.
Vishal. I'll
You can post in the chat. You can post in the chat if it's
the
okay.
connect. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
sure. I'll do that.
yeah. Great. So, so what happened with this advent of behaviorism? We got back the scientific approach meanwhile, and then this man John Watson brought it back, and we were able to see and measure and predict behavior for that matter. So behaviorism is focuses on what is observable, what is projected. And as a result, what we have learned from our environment, so whatever we have gathered from our environment was also one of the constructs of behaviorism. So they say that whatever we have been doing, whatever we have been learning is controlled by the environment that we are living in. So eventually, it has a very strong influence of the things around us. That is the part of behaviorism that we saw. And then in the 80s and 70s and 80s and 90s, we see cognitive psychology, the study of brain imaging, the study of neuroscience brought back this again a deeper aspect of perception, memory, and thinking into play. And we always started finding the aspects that is more uh, relevant to ideas and thoughts of an individual. So it's a behavioral aspect that is driven by the thoughts and ideas of an individual. So the focus turned on to be the cognitive processes of the individual. And then again, it explored, it dived deep, and it went on to the biopsychology. The imaging processes advanced, and people went on to, as you know, correlate every behavior to some biological process that is happening in our brain, our body. And this is what we have seen over a period of time, that everything that we read about psychology, you say there is this chemical, you say there is this nerve, you say there is this neural circuitry that is responsible for the behavior. By and large, if you think, where do psychologists work? If you see all these things, the schools of psychologists that you've gone through, what does and where does the psychologist work? Which are the places of the psychologists that they are involved into? Yes?
I think a psychologist can pretty much work wherever a group of people are working.
Pardon?
I think a psychologist might be needed wherever there are a group of people working.
Correct. Where there are people, you need a psychologist there. Correct. And then?
So that can be schools, hospitals, workplaces.
Absolutely. 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 So these are the areas, by and large. It's a huge thing, right? So see, school, we have listed certain things down. You see, workplaces, and then there are certain things which are not relating to the direct exposure of the individual or maybe group. Like you have developed cognitive experimental psychology where they work in labs, and then you have the policy frameworks that these people are involved into while developing a strong policy framework. It also involves into policy making about education and certain biopsychological areas that you usually find labs are established into. And then there is a huge area that is relevant to the clinical setting. So these are broad areas that psychologists work into. So if you look at these, counseling is this chunk that is observable, and not all are involved into counseling. So you may find clinical people always engaging in some kind of counseling practices, but there has to be a sort of training that they has to go through. If they have, they can engage, that these areas can overlap. So by and large, if I ask you, can you think of the box? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. Only two responses. Then answer this question. A man dressed entirely in black and wearing a black mask is standing in a middle of crossroad. All of the street lights at the intersections are broken. A car speeds down the road, heading the straight for the man. Yet it turns the time and does not hit him. How does he manage to miss him? Come on, someone can say. So someone says it was a day. Okay. Okay. Can someone answer this? This is a small puzzle. Okay, it was a day. You got it. You know, it was a daytime. The driver of the car avoided hitting the man wearing only black because it was a daytime. So this kind of, you know, thinking, I'm not making it only through this single question that you would be able to make it, but it is an understanding that uh, as a psychologist or as a counselor, you would want to go through certain areas of development in your own self which will help you to build the lateral thinking or a parallel thinking process that we always see. So if you see if these processes are to be built, just a minute, I have a problem here. Yeah, okay. If these processes are to be built, what we need to do, and what is the scenario now? As a career guidance counselor, what do we look at? What do we look at? What are we glaring at? The current scenario is, uh, I'm quoting a report of 2018, the MHRD report, and you see the secondary and senior secondary students, sorry, senior secondary students, that if you look at the career interventions that they need, the number is staggering. The number is staggering, and we don't have enough counselors to support these students. In Maharashtra itself, if we talk about the Maharashtra state, we have 1 lakh schools which are operational, and you don't have enough of support which will help the students to find the right ways and means. And why they need a way and mean to help, or a kind of help, is uh, it's imperative with everybody that some of the other time in your life you'll be able to, you need some kind of help, and this is a prime age, the adolescent age, where a strong support is needed. The current era, although, also more demands it, considering we are in a very strong information explosion. A lot of things are getting towards the eyes and ears of the student. What you need is not only the filtration of uh, information, but the way and method to guide a student to think in a way, or maybe insightfully make certain changes in the behavior of the student. If this is the thing, if this is the scope that we're looking at, what we have got in our hand, and the challenge in the higher education scenario is, then total enrollment is over 37 million, uh, you know, and then there are huge need for every aspect of adolescent student need a strong career counseling to be done. And if you see, we are not talking about admission counseling anywhere here. I want to make a very strong distinction between a career guidance counselor and an admission counselor. So, a career guidance counselor is one who insightfully understands the ability, makes the student understand the abilities and interest, and choose the goal, not choose the college or the cutoff or a particular entrance examination. That is completely different. First, if I want to know my career personality or my vocational personality type, and then my abilities, and then set up a goal for, based on my understanding for me, that this is where I need to go, whether it's some area, a broader area or a specific area. And then the next part comes into play is the admission counseling. What to do for that? How to go about that? The first part is very critical, and a lot of students, even though having good many abilities and lot many aspirations, they may not have a proper goal that they have set in this 8 hour 8 sessions here on. We'll be able to understand that method, that way, and then aid ourselves with certain tools to make sure that we are setting up that very agenda of doing it. So the need of career counseling. I would, in this context, because we have already understood certain area of the psychology, I would want to ask participants if you have any questions here, and then I'll quickly run you through or go through the well-being related aspect for today's session, and then we take up the counseling skills tomorrow. So if you have any questions relating to the understanding that we've made up today, anything.
So talking about the last slide that we are going through, where we are talking about a certain number of students moving from the primary or upper primary to secondary, and talking about the requirement of career counseling, are we saying that they should consult a career counselor, or are we saying that they are trying to consult but there are not enough counselors?
So what has happened is this is through certain. Let me tell you a case. In 2012, there was a tender that was floated by Pune Municipal Corporation, which was relating to the need of emotional assessments, emotional intelligence assessment, and counseling to be done to 55,000 students of 3,500 Zilla Parishad schools in Pune district. And at that time, they even approached Jnana Prabodhini, and there was no mechanism to this scale and magnitude that this can be delivered. So I'm talking only about one municipal corporation. The KPMG report of 2014-15, the skill gap report of education industry, talks about a workforce which is needed, which is not the teachers, which are not the direct teachers to the school, but the support system of counselors and psychologists, which is very, very essential for every school. Then there were orders by government, and then there are prescriptions by continuous comprehensive evaluation system of NCERT, that you must have emotional intelligence, IQ, and career guidance to be done. On that note, the NCERT also launched a portal a couple of years ago for career guidance. And last year, they launched a portal for mental health and well-being. So what I want to emphasize is it's through the obligation of the the system also, and through the need of the individual also, that things are necessitated nowadays. And if you look at the suicide rate, everybody talks about it. I'm going to talk about suicide rate about the students only. You have known the suicide rate of 40, every 40 seconds a person dying in the globe due to self-infliction, that is suicide. But if you look at the rates of students in India, 2019 was 24 suicides in 24 hours. 2020 was 28 suicides in 24 hours. It grew. I'm talking about students. Huh? So I'm not saying that uh, it's only about career guidance counselor. Hence, the well-being part is included here. But there is not only the pull action, there is also a push action by the policy and the governmental agencies that is being pushed, or maybe the private enterprises as well. And then there are the pull action by the seeker. They need. It may happen that the awareness has grown over a period of time. A couple of you know you know 5, 6, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, you may not have found this kind of things coming up very efficiently, but they've started accepting. Things have started coming up, and I can tell you, the way things are happening at both the individual and the mass levels, the need is felt every year it's growing and growing. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Anything else, please? I hope you've got it, like what we discussed, so that I'll be able to get along with the well-being related part quickly, because we have. Do you want to have a break? All of you, a 5 minutes, bio break. Come on, we'll have a break. We'll come up. So it's like 5:10. So we come back in 8 minutes or 10 minutes something. I hope that will work. Great. Thank you. Although I am there, anybody wants to discuss, I am here for the discussion. Priyanka, I hope it's you're able to get all the things and hear properly. The voice is okay. Hello.
Yeah. Yes. Vishal.
Yeah, great. Fantastic. So I'm gonna highlight the well-being part. This is more interesting now. See the slide, well-being wala.
Yeah. I can see it.
Okay. I'll just bring a glass of water. Is everybody back? Uh, Still, how many of you are there? I guess Sarvesh is joined. Hi, Sarvesh. Ishika. I think.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. You joining from where? Pune or Sangli?
Yeah, I'm in Pune.
You're in Pune. Okay. And Prashant sir, welcome. Where I can see you. Okay. Can see, can see. Maitri, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Perfect.
It's going perfectly.
By the way, you are doing what? Like, you're engaging with students.
No, I'm engaging with teachers. I'm a trainer for them,
Okay.
for would-be teachers.
Okay.
Okay, and
Great.
I'm pursuing my psychology degree right now.
Okay. From where?
It's a distance, sir.
It's a distance learning program.
Yes,
And
because I'm already working. So
Spruti,
Yes, yes, sir.
so I just want to would like to hear about you. What are you doing?
I am as of present, I am a stay-at-home mother.
Okay.
I have a 1.5-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Uh, I used to teach at an NGO.
MGM.
Yeah, I used to teach there, and I found this interesting, so I wanted to learn more about this.
So we
By
work
the way,
very closely with MGM.
yeah,
You must have known.
I am a BTech graduate.
Okay.
Uh, Definitely a psychology enthusiast. I would definitely like to learn more.
Okay. Great. Great. Great.
Knowing that Maitri is doing it in distant education, I would definitely like to have her input soon.
So we have a technology graduate
Yeah.
and experience holder from here. Prashant is a 23-year experience into IT, and he's doing his master's in psychology now.
Oh, wow. That's
Prashant,
really nice.
if you can share your some thoughts. Hello, I can't hear you. Huh. No, I can't hear you. Something going wrong. Your voice is inaudible. Okay, anyways, no, Prashant. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. We can fix it and we can discuss later. I'm not able to hear you. No. I think Chitija is back, right? Yeah. Can you tell us something about you so that I can take up the next thing? You're on mute.
Sorry for that. So the last full-time job I did, I was a project manager with transitions.
In
Project manager with transitions,
okay.
transitioning of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Simultaneously, I have been working with a couple of NGOs, but I have mostly been doing teaching jobs with them on honorary basis. And now I no more want to continue with the business development. That's not what I'm looking at. So I'm trying to get into training and counseling. And this was something that Priyanka sent me, and I just found it to be very interesting.
Fantastic. Chalo, good. Hope you have an enriching experience for the next eight sessions. That works
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, yeah. So with all everybody back, I'll be focusing on very interesting part of this, which again dates back to right from the Freudian thing towards the Goleman thing. You know what has happened over a period of time that we have been focusing on the empirical thing, but also uh, the constructs related to emotions, which has been at the forefront of our behavioral forces, or the forces drives our behavior. They're going to see something very interesting part about it. So yes. What has happened is because we have run through this pandemic time, and suddenly some things have very strikingly came to our notice, that we were locked somewhere, and we were into some kind of confinement, and we had to deal with limited people, whether at home or something. And then there was also challenges relating to like also the shut schools or shut workplaces, and then we had engagement that we were finding. So let's understand what drills down in our brains, and what actually matters the most in terms of how we deal with our surroundings. If you really look at the structure of the brain, and I'm getting to very simplistic terminologies so that we understand it in a very layman's time, understanding. So if you look at the brain, which you see in the screen in front of you right now, the middle part of the brain, which we call this is an emotional brain. The emotional brain, in a very simple terms, the technical term for it is limbic system, and in our understanding, we'll call it as emotional brain, which is got a small small structure, small organ, which is called as amygdala. You can pronounce it as amygdala, amygdala. So amygdala is a very primitive organ, very primitive organ. It was, if you look at the evolutionary perspective, this is an organ which is responsible for our threat perception. So when humans used to go into jungle for hunting, or maybe gathering their food, for whatever reason, there is always this threat for life that was alerted, and this is an alarming system, or maybe a alert sensor that is in our brain, which always triggers and fetches for some kind of, you know uh, the the threat, or maybe the challenge that may come up, and it sets up a mechanism that is called as fight, freeze, or flight. You've known this, like, when we have some kind of fear, we have these kind of things coming up. That is, when we perceive a threat, we either fight, engage with the thing, we are either fly, and or else we freeze. So these are the three classical responses that come up while we have this alert system when it goes up. And this is what amygdala has been doing for over a period of time, for centuries together, for millennia together in humans. Now, if you ask me, we have lost. We're not nowhere in the prehistoric times where we are into dwelling into forests, or we are seeking for our food into wild. That's not the case. We are in the offices. We are into modern day workplaces, and we are moreover relating to our safety, relatively finding ourselves better placed in terms of safety and security as far as the basic threat to human life is concerned. Keep aside the socialistic and certain other, uh, extremist threat that we face, but you don't have a direct threat of some other animal grabbing you in the midst of a uh, in midst of a dense forest. That's not what is happening, but you still are having this organ, amygdala. What does it do now? It is a very interesting thing. It still alerts us. It still makes us go into state of fear, panic, and worry, but not with the threats like some man-eater coming to eat the person, but with the words like, someone, uh, what you say in direct words, humiliates you, okay, or someone does not give you your credits for your work, or you feel you are threatened for your position, or then you also feel like, I'm not, I'm being put aside, I'm kept aside, I am not given my due credits. Or for example, you're going for a trip on a, maybe office trip, and you suddenly find that the flight has been cancelled, and then you engage with the flight coordinator there in a dude, like, why this has happened. I wanted to do a very important meeting, and it has been cancelled, it's not good and everything, and then you suddenly flare up. So this is how amygdala is doing. It's functioning the same thing, but the circumstances, the environments have changed. I'll tell you a small case. You must be have been talking to your friends on phone. Maybe in your, say in your college days, or maybe now also, like, sometime you end up into some kind of disagreement or argument, and then you start uh, a strong heated debate, and then suddenly, whether it's not, it may or may be related to work, but then you say something bad, or maybe the other person says something bad, and then you disconnect the phone. You must have done this on in a heat of anger, in a raged thing. You must have disconnected the phone. Before this disconnection, you must have also said, don't talk to me again, and then you disconnect the phone and keep it away. What happens after that? Anybody, what happens after that?
So we constantly think over it, like, was the person wrong or am I wrong?
Okay,
Yeah.
what do you do then?
A person goes in loop that continuously think about the same thing, and those thoughts are difficult to take out of your mind. And In fact, they take out most of the positivity out of you, that whatever positive routine you are following, it disturbs that.
What do you do then? Tell me what you have done. When you've quarreled with someone, maybe in college, and then you've said, don't talk to me again, what you have done? Or
So
maybe at home, you quarrel with your, say, sibling or parent or somewhere, and suddenly
First,
you say, don't talk to me. What you have done?
Maybe
so
take him back.
personally, I only go back and talk.
Yeah, you'll go back and talk. What do you say then?
I don't. I so if it is my fault, I mostly start by apologizing.
Okay.
If
How many
not,
of you have done this? So you do what? You end up into some kind of fight, maybe a verbal fight, a verbal argument, and then you don't know like really whose fault it was, and suddenly you think about it later, and go on thinking about it, and you realize that इतना भी गलती नहीं थी उसकी, and you say like जान दो यार जो हुआ हो गया, whatever it is, like we are friends again. And this is how usually it happens. So this typically is called as amygdala hijack or emotional hijack. It is said in a very good proverb: "Don't curse in anger and don't promise in happiness." In these elated states of mind, whether it's like about any emotion, we lose the sense of acuity of rationalizing things. And here is where exactly the emotional, hijack happens. What happens typically is, in a technical word, is we receive inputs through our ears, eyes, all the senses, and these are relayed to the centers, specific centers. Some are cognitive centers like in the cortex, and then there is a relay that is of the data is going towards the emotional brain. But what happens suddenly when you are in the fit of any emotion, whether it's happiness, anger, or whatever, the entire data has been hijacked by the amygdala or the limbic system, and no data is, minimalistic data is going to the thinking brain. So whatever reaction that comes up is 100% emotional. Now think about, you're angry and you're cursing someone, and you usually do that. You're happy and you're promising, you are on a rampage, like ye kar denge, wo kar denge. You're happy because of it. And then you suddenly realize after some time, अरे इतना तो resources मेरे पास है नहीं. Afterthought, how did I promise this? And then you say, अरे ये नहीं होगा. This happens usually. Now this is where the second part of our brain comes into play, that is prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain. So this is a very, very, very sophisticated part, and it has also been working very, very efficiently over ages. If I ask you, what do we call this in layman's term? What is this? Say, this is a forehead, right? And what have we calling it? हम
मेरा
क्या कहते हैं
नसीब.
इसको? Now I do this thing. What is this?
मेरा
fate,
नसीब.
nasib, fate.
Correct, Naseeb. So this is Naseeb, right? Or one more thing. Who has a broader forehead? What do we call him, that person?
Lucky one.
Lucky one. Destined, lucky hai. Naseeb wala hai. Or and
More intelligent or
more
something.
intelligent. Why You also have a person, a deity by the name Lord Ganesha, who is at a big forehead, and we call this the god of Buddhi. I'm telling you a very simple thing about it. This part of our brain, exactly behind the forehead, this is called as PFC, as you see in the screen, the prefrontal cortex. This is one of the most sophisticated areas of the brain, which is involved into high order executive functions, which includes memory, working memory, decision making, planning, discrimination, right and wrong, all these factors. Okay, so these are very complex high order functions in which the PFC is involved. The best part of it is it controls, there is a circuitry which controls amygdala through PFC. So if you have a surge of emotion, say anger or say happiness or say any part of this, uh, PFC is one such center or one such area that will have a good control over amygdala. I'm telling you this because our well-being depends on 4 or 5 most interesting factors. Our well-being depends on the quality of coming back after a setback, in after a stress or any form of stress. So if you really look at what well-being is being, we lost you. You lost me. Is it Priyanka? I think
No, sir.
Maitri, you're able to hear me? Everybody's able to hear me. Priyanka, can you check your everybody's able to hear Priyanka, please? Okay. So what happens is the crux of well-being is how you are able to bounce back after a setback. It's like a phoenix. It's like getting back to action again after a setback, which we always have been witnessing in this pandemic. The second part is the adaptability part, how quickly you adapt to the situation. The third thing is emotional stability, how are you able to stabilize your emotions in the turmoil. And the next thing is driven by positivity, hope, and aspect relating to optimism. If you club these things, it are closely related to your emotional centers in brain, which are governed by external circumstances that you go through, and then the PFC is the center that has a very strong hold of it. The planning, the decision making, the bouncing back thing. If you see what are the two best friends of PFC that can help you to strengthen this ecosystem of having a dialogue between amygdala and prefrontal cortex to not take the emotional hijack the front seat. The two friends, one, breathing exercise, the oxygen. So PFC needs oxygen anyways. Our brain is getting oxygen. More refined and more the oxygen supplied to our PFC, more strong it is. Okay, one thing. And second, it is important for the PFC, which is a function of PFC, to label the emotion. So if I ask you what are you feeling, you must be able to say what I'm feeling. If you're not able to say what you're feeling, then in our words, or maybe in the words of psychologists, we call it as emotionally illiterate. You're not aware of your own self. So if you ask, how are you feeling? What are you feeling? You must be able to label it. Knowing what you're going through is a first step towards overcoming things. And that is what exactly PFC does. Awareness. It creates a sense of knowing, so that a simple example I'll tell you. If you are, say, driving with your friend and suddenly your vehicle cracks down, you're standing by the roadside, and you're close to the road, and you are like sitting down and doing some repair in the motorbike, and suddenly a car passes through very fast, a swift, very swift, and it brushes you, like somewhere. It what do you say, hum jaise find it, like it brushes you, and you get into anger, you flare up, and you say, usko dikhta nahi hai kya? We did not find that we are in the middle of the side of the road, and how should we drive the car and everything, and you are angry and you're furious. And then suddenly your friend says, don't be so much into panic. That was an ambulance. And then you calm down and say, oh, it is fine. So when you know it's an ambulance, someone is someone is saving someone's life, they've not been hurt and anything, you suddenly change your disposition. You change your take, you change your way of looking towards these things. Exactly the same thing happens with the PFC and the amygdala relation. When you know why you are getting angry, if there is no proportionate answer to it, the PFC calms it down by labeling it like, don't worry, it's not because of this, it's because of this. So calm down. That is what PFC does. And if you have to strengthen your PFC, the most important thing that you have to do is breathe properly, and then you come to these techniques like mindfulness or pranayama or breathing exercises that you see. This is how the system of the entire brain has to function as far as the critical aspects are concerned. Now, why I'm telling you this is, if you go towards the brain activity and performance in students or in any individual for that matter, to understand the context of performance and then how does the individual feels, it is driven by the facets like we have seen earlier, the neurological thing, and then there is a second factor, that is the neurochemical thing. And one of the important thing that the neurochemical that is responsible for managing stress within us is the cortisol. It's a hormone that is secreted by the adrenaline, which is sitting right on top of your kidneys. Okay, the adrenaline glands, we say adrenaline surge. You must have witnessed every now and then that if so for example, your favorite team is playing cricket match. So Indian team is playing a cricket match. When the last over and MS Dhoni is batting, we're about to win the game. We need, say, 6 runs in 2 balls, and we also see that MS Dhoni is about to go for his century. What is your emotion? How do you see it? I want to see your faces describing this. How many of you have seen this? How many have seen this situation that you are sitting on your couch and you're looking at a match where maybe India is about to win, and then you have MS Dhoni batting, and then he is about to get into his century and he's about to win, and there are 2 balls and there are 6 runs we need, and then MS Dhoni is there. So
Lost
what?
breathe or means forgot the world around and just
So you also feel,
engrossed
and there
in
is
that
this
thing.
last ball, and this MS Dhoni, what he does is he uh, you know pushes it towards the boundary, but he runs for a run, and then is the other end of the strike, and then say for example, maybe Virat Kohli is at the other end, and then you also have now what, there are 5 runs, 1 ball. What do you feel? You are
Excited.
on the edge, right? You're on the edge, as if you are on the pitch. You think MS Dhoni should have got this sixer or something like that. You say that he's not played it right. Anyways, we have a chance now, and we eventually win the match. Once we won the match, you're happy, you're elated, you're excited, and the gush is so much so. I've seen people that as if they were on the pitch batting instead of MS Dhoni or someone, and they were about to hit the ball and everything. So they were so engaged, nervous excitement, right? Nervous excitement, right, Vasudha? So, and then what happens is you also have this mixed emotion. My favorite player did not got the century, and you also feel bad about it, but you feel elated that we won match. What we want to focus now here is there is an element of neuro the element of this hormone that is coming to your system because you are aggressive, because you are excited, because you are engaged. There was an excitement, there was nervousness. There has to be a coping mechanism for it, and this the cortisol has been flooded. Your bloodstream is flooded with cortisol. When it comes into the system, it stays all the while you see, uh, more the level of cortisol on the graph, you see on the graph, more the level of cortisol, high is the stress and lesser is the performance. Okay, the performance goes down while the cortisol is high. Hence, when I was saying that students stay awake all through the night for the next day's preparation, that is also a stressful event. You want to perform, and the cortisol is high. You have to stay awake. So there is a natural tendency of body to secrete cortisol, and you'll have a high stress but low performance. And then the important thing is, match is over, everything is over. What do you do? क्या करते हो आप? The excitement is gone. Do you really feel you are relaxed?
No, it stays for a while and then we come back. for
Okay.
the few moments we are still on the pitch.
We still high. Okay.
Yes.
And then suppose the match is over and then you have to go for your, say, if you're staying, like you have to make your, आपको खाना बनाना है या फिर आपको मीटिंग अटेंड करनी है कोई, you have to attend a meeting. How are you then? You're still, you are not getting a time to calm yourself down, right? The cortisol is there. It is nowhere that you are giving a chance, and this is how our life is now. Once it is up, and we have to give enough time for it to settle it down, and there are mechanisms to do that. We have a second task that is lined up, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth. And then somewhere we find that we've lost the efficacy to cope with stress. And interestingly, this has to come to us through a simplistic means, simplistic ways that we eventually don't do after, when a second batch of neurotransmitters or hormones has to come in. When there is a cortisol flooded bloodstreams, there has to be a counter neurotransmitter or hormone that is to come in to neutralize it, which eventually comes with relaxation methods, or maybe the methods that you calm down your nervous system or endocrine system. And that is what we are missing on. If we are not doing it regularly, we don't have developed this coping mechanism, our stresses will go up and we'll start feeling that heat. The converse is also true. You don't do anything, you're going to careless state of mind, you'll land up into boredom and the performance goes down. The cortisol is also low there. So the either ends of cortisols, high or low, will land up into lower performances. Both are bad. Optimal level will enhance it. See, the brain activity and the performance is so closely related. And we have known it through, just through our layman's understanding. We are now looking at it from the perspective how we can manage it. So simple techniques like what? Sleep. A good sleep pattern will help. Early going to bed, early rising will help. Breathing exercise will help. And this is very simplistic, and maybe we have been advocating these things in a very, very, very scientific jargons. When it comes through that, it's very easy to accommodate and understand. But it's very simplistic. When Robin Sharma says try out 5 a.m. club, it entices us. But when our grandmother says sleep early, rise early, it is difficult for us to believe. And this is how it has been. But even eventually, these are the practices that are needed and that can help students to come up with their performances. So if you correct the behavioral aspect of the student, maybe the eating habits, the sleeping habits, the study skills, the scholastic things grow, or may they enhance. A simple logic. So if someone comes to you with saying that he's not doing good in, say, such and such area, and maybe how you can help him to achieve his career or maybe his goal by improving things, you don't have to tutor or maybe ask the person to get a tuition into that area. That don't have to do that. Ask the confounding things. Ask about the behavior aspect. What is happening? Is he doing the right thing? And there are much more. I'm just highlighting certain things, but there are much more things that have gone through. We'll discuss them as we go ahead in our understanding. But the overall status of well-being will produce a kind of performance in the individual, or maybe in this case student, which will be more in direction or maybe in sync with what we were looking at. So this is how it works. The next thing is the social circuitry. People live, students or everybody lives in each other's influence, each other's way of interactions with each other. And this has created an dynamic circuitry. If your conversation goes along, if two people are conversing, if you put a flexion MRI to one person and the other flexion MRI to other person, flexion MRI is the technique to understand your brain area glows while some activity happens in the brain. If that is seen, uh, you'll see that the social circuitry is established and a dynamic circuitry, how these areas are lit and how these people connect. In normal terms, we call this as wavelengths or hamari banti hai. We are able to relate to each other. Interestingly, there is a strong evidence in this case that the social brain activates and how you relate to each other makes a difference. And now you look at the factors that we are looking at, yeah, as far as the emotional intelligence is concerned, it's self-awareness, self-motivation, self-regulation, empathy, and managing relations. If you ask a person why he or she is happy, why he or she feels happy, there was a longitudinal study. There is a longitudinal study being done at Harvard, making people understand why they feel happy. And this is a 90-year-old longitudinal study. And the most, you know, most common reason that they have found is it is because of their relationships. And that is not, these relationships are not romantic relationships for that matter. It is the way people interact with each other, the way people relate to each other. So if a student has to perform good, it has to be backed up with a very strong family environment. Not necessarily that has to be very strong scholastic environment. It can be a very strong healthy family environment, which is why a relationship, understanding how the student or the parents manage the relationship with each other, will lead towards a very strong aspect of looking towards how they are going to perform or set their goals going further. So this is the aspects of EI. Now we look at the uh, okay, I'm not going to show, this is not the video that we are talking about. So well-being in general is not only one dimension, or that is physical health, it's the emotional, it's the family, and the societal health. So it's the factors, these are correlated factors, interrelated factors, which decide and develop the sense of well-being in an individual. So if you look at these perspectives in a student, you'll come to know that there are certain behavioral challenges that they need to overcome, maybe from the parents' perspective or maybe from the perspective of the student. I would have certain checklist for you to go, and with this, after this, we'll just conclude our well-being portion, and I will be having a small interaction, and by that we'll conclude today's session. So, how do you overcome this thing? Is simple. One, love, unconditional love that you must have to. If a parent is doing towards a student or maybe child or child to the parents, single most important factor that delivers is love. As you see, care is an integral part of it. Respect and gratitude, the challenges that maybe students face today, and maybe we have been facing over a period of couple of decades or 3 decades now, is the scarcity mentality that we go through. Scarcity mentality is the facet of individual where he is constant on and on and on in a complaining mode. So if you ask anybody, why were you not able to score so much of marks in your 10th grade? If I ask you that, what will be your answer? If I ask you, you scored, say, whatever grades you scored in your 10th, would you have scored better? If I ask you now, anybody can tell me, would you have scored better?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? Yes, Purva said yes. Anybody? Would you have scored better? Yes, Vasudha says yes, yes. And why did you not score at that time then? If I ask you this second question, what was the reason?
Maybe stress.
Okay, and tell me
Maybe
the right
diverted
reason.
or
I
not
mean, not the
concentrated.
thought afterthought reasons. Tell me the reason that you would have told at that time. If your parents have asked you, like, क्यों इतने आए? इससे आगे क्यों नहीं आए? If your parents have asked exactly at that point of time when you got this course, what would have you told? आपने क्या बताया होता?
Same.
Yes, yes.
Not concentrated enough.
I'll tell you what I would have told. I would have said the examiner did not check the papers right. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yes or no? Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Okay, someone said, Smriti says the questions were out of syllabus. Absolutely. These are the answers that we give. And then there is one more answer. Okay. There is one more answer I'll tell you. That is highest 80 ka hai, mujhe 75 hai. The highest in the class is 80 and I'm 75. I'm there somewhere. And then there is like everybody has got 60. So this is how we, and why this, this is because we're in a constant fear of losing something. अगर मैंने सच बोल दिया, अभी आप सच कह सकते हो कि हमने स्टडी नहीं की, हमें स्ट्रेस था, मुझे ट्यूशन, ऐसा भी एक एग्जाम मेरा आंसर होता है कि आई डिड नॉट हैव ट्यूशंस, hence I scored less. So now related to our day-to-day work life as well, we have these kind of things, like we say, why did this not happen? It was because of this reasons. It is not because of I did not do it. So this state of mind comes through an understanding that we're losing something. We are at a loss if I tell something which is true or real. Students also feel the same. It's like a scarcity about your own resources, your own belongings. It'll go down dramatically if I tell something, or if I reveal something, if I come across telling something. So what helps to reverse this state of mind is gratitude. You build a state of abundance only through a state of saying, I'm thankful that I got this thing, or maybe I'm thankful. If you develop this attitude maybe of respect and gratitude in student or in the parent, you'll see most of your challenge. If a counseling session is scheduled for 3-4 days or 3-4 sessions in a row, what you work upon are these aspects. You'll find that scholastic development gradually happens in the student. So this is what the gratitude has to do with. And maybe you must have been listening everywhere, maybe in today's world, that gratitude has to be nurtured, has to be there as one of the values in the system. Positive communication amongst the peers, amongst the parent and the student, teacher and the student and everything. I would want to focus on hard work a little bit. So what happens usually is hard work and the students, the way the student is performing. Usually, if a student does a good thing, the best, this done a exceptional thing and is brought his work to you, what would you say? Yes, Maitri, Kshitija, Priyanka, Ishika. What would you say if a student does a very good work and brings it to you and maybe present it to you? What would you say?
Best. Very good. Nice.
To whom?
Excellent.
To students, obviously.
And then what more you say? Tell me if your say niece or your daughter, your son does this thing and it brings it to you. What will
Really
you say?
good. Keep it up, and you did really nice.
You didn't realize. And someone else, can you say me? What would you say?
Excellent work.
Depends on who is showing you the work. If it is somebody you're closely associated with, you will end up saying, "Oh, it's nice, keep it up, very well." If it is somebody who can be in a competitive zone, then it'll be like, "Ah, it's okay, I can do better."
Okay, but you it's someone who is close to you. So what do you say? I'll tell you the most common thing you say, and to be true to yourself, you say, "What a brilliant work you've done. You are so intelligent." Say this, right? Tu khub hushar hai. Say this, and you say, and you while you talk to your friends and your maybe peers and anybody, he's a very intelligent boy. Okay, so what you praise is what you praise the intelligence of the child, and this is happening subconsciously. Now you just understand your maybe past experience. You will come to know you have in the dialogue of 3-4 sentences that you go through the student or the child. You'll see that you're praising the brilliance or intelligence of the child apart from the work that is done. What is needed is you need to praise the efforts of the child. So if you say you put in I'll tell you there's an empirical research that is gone through here. If you praise the intelligence of the child goes into a state of entitlement. That I am blessed, I am born to do this thing. My intelligent who? The next time the performance comes down. But if you say efforts are to be rewarded, the efforts are to be praised or appreciated, next times the value is assigned to the efforts. So the child sees a value assigned to effort. So the next time the performance is highly likely going up. The simple thing. Now, these are simple dialogues that runs through a family. Everybody feels my child is best. So you say the child is best. You don't say the child's work is best or the efforts of the child is best. This is how the entitlement runs. And then they start feeling, if you tell them ki you do a very good, you are a very good basketball player, बचपन से हूँ, you see these things come up gradually, and then they feel they're entitled for these, they don't have to learn new things for that. And then the hard work loses the the it goes in the hindsight, and then you don't have that culture that has to be nurtured of working towards your goals. So this is in nutshell about overcoming the behavioral challenges. We'll look certain more things as we proceed in our sessions to come forward. I would open it for today's question, and there will be assignment given to you after we complete tomorrow's session. A very interesting assignment. Maybe we'll focus on certain skill sets and areas of a counselor, and then the specific career guidance as far as the areas of career guidance are considered. With this introduction about psychology or counseling and well-being, do you have any questions here now? Yes. Okay. I do see some face. Can I see everybody's face? So that's easy to converse. Yes, Smriti, Ishika, do you have any questions? Sarvesh, how are you?
Good, sir. No questions, sir.
Okay. Fine. So what we'll do is I'll just recap the things, and then we'll close the session, and we'll be meeting tomorrow again with the facets of the skills related towards counseling and the process of counseling. The important thing is how do we enter the process of counseling. We've known the area, the broad things. Now we'll talk about how do we enter the counseling session, what transpires between two people when they engage for the first place, and then you come to the basics of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that you need to nurture, and then we'll be helping you in doing that. So what we did was we understood one thing, that what psychology is all about. We went through 2 or 3 important things about how it was evolved over a period of time, and we understood the counseling as one of the important facets of the psychology as a broader domain. And then psychology relating to the work, it has got a huge scope that is needed, and we need to be trained in that fashion completely. Notwithstanding towards that itself, we also need to couple it with the understanding of overall well-being of the student, which has become an integral part of our day-to-day dealings. Why it is important? Because it affects the decisions that the individual takes. Now if you have this whole of the thing will be of relevance to you when you reach towards the 4th or 5th session, when we'll be doing some practicals while understanding that. Then they'll come to across people, talking to them with some assignments. They'll come to know when you engage why these things matter. Fine. I hope I'll be happy to have reviews, if at all, with everybody. If you find the space and everything is fine, we'll meet tomorrow again at the same time, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Priyanka will be taking up one of the sessions tomorrow, which will be relating to core counseling skills, and I'll be taking up the career guidance counseling, where we need to understand the process of entering into a session. Okay. With that, if no questions prevail, I'll take your leave, and I'll be sharing certain material tomorrow with all of you for the week's study and assignment.
Um,
Yes, Kshitija.
Can the material for today's session be shared today? So
I'll be sharing a small Priyanka, we need to share the work the small 20 pages booklet. I've shared with you. You can share it with the participants. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Bye.